You can see me. I've got the right charts up. It's quite a hectic day today. I've been running around. I haven't had a chance to eat anything, in fact. So, yeah, just going to a couple of minutes to sort of a bit adult, so I'm a bit settling down a bit better now. Running around, all coming in at once. Just about to knock off my chat feed came in. It all go. Anyway, sort of settled down now. So, let's see what's happening to our Nasdaq, eh? Don't tell me, Anna Marie, you didn't go for it now. Thank goodness for that, because if you hadn't, I would sentence you of a whole week listening to my stupid stories. That would drive you insane. That'd be punishment enough. Well, this is really pathetic, but the winter coming, it's more blue. I wish I'd said that. So that's the sort of thing you'd have to put up with, that kind of Christmas cracker comment, if you didn't go for it. It's all right. Actually, I was watching something called QI. What's it? Quite interesting, that's right. And sort of unknown facts and things like that. And I'm not sure it's 100% true, but apparently the Christmas infamously bad jokes that come from a Christmas cracker. The reason behind it, apparently, if you tell a good joke, there's too many people who don't think it's good and think it's bad. If it's a bad joke, you get 100% people in agreement. So it decided just to put out bad jokes, and it'll get no one complaining because we know it's all going to be bad jokes. It's the only time you get 100% agreement. That was a theory anyway. I thought it was quite a good one. But now we know why Christmas cracker jokes are so bad. Is it funny? Well, Anna Marie's off the hook. How about you? You better got into this one. You better be in it and still in it, or I'll put you in the red, never mind the blue. Getting quite strict in here, I tell you. Hey, Romaris.
I'm in it as well as in the Dow Jones. So far, I'm smiling. Uncle, good afternoon. Hi, Anna Marie.
Good afternoon, because I'm just saying I've sentenced to my terrible jokes to Anne Marie if she wasn't in. If you weren't in, I'd make you trade NGAS for a month non-stop. That would teach you a lesson you'll never forget. That's good news anyway. Excuse the banter. We're cheering to see good news. And that red represents blue. So we're all colorblind. That's red, it's a color blue. So it's good. Hence the rather cheerful aspect. Oh, don't tell me that, man. Don't spoil my little bit. A little bit of good times I have, and what does Mark have to do? No, that's not that bad. It's not that bad. We went, look, not you, as that guy he's not in here, very little money. He took a trades to get him going. He's about breaking even at the moment. Gold's jumping around a bit, actually. It's back up again. It's all over the bloody place. I've been advocating the long every time. I'm going to get a better price or leave it alone. Besides, it's not going to wait for me to go up anyway. So be it. Well, it's a bit quiet. It'll follow Globus now. It's about break even. I think put out for that. I don't think else forget about the 20 something. What now? Actually, because I hardly ever trade it. 23. That's right. So it's right about 23 at the moment. In fact, we've got 23 on the ask. And it's practically there on the bid, and that's the spread. So it's about break even, so it's okay. It was 4 o'clock, we'd start. Oh, right there. It's like a snail, so it's back. Mark, I'm sorry about your US CAD, but it's there. I don't get another chance at it now. We got in at 45, chasing a bit where it is. I said, well, I won't open at all. I hope it's going to continue up, obviously. But for your sake, it might have come back to get an entry. But I think that's the one you're talking about. Didn't quite come back to an entry. It's a bit late to chase it now. Anyway, one of those things. You might get it. I saw you're highly annoyed. I don't blame you. I miss AUD USD, same principle. But I got the euro dollar. That hit the TP as well. That was a bit of good news. Anyway, I'm in the NAS and the Dow. The Dow was a bit lagging a bit. Dow, I have to be saying, is a bit lagging. Doing the opposite. That's the market for you. Normally they go not exactly together, but normally the Dow comes off, so does the NAS and vice versa. Remember, they overlap. In the S&P and the Dow and the Nasdaq, you get the Googles and the Apples and the big tech companies. So if they're doing coming off, why the heck doesn't like the Dow come off? You know, or go figure. Anyway, mind you, I know the answer. It's 30 companies. You've got the Unilevers, the Exxon. What else you got in there? Coca-Cola and Walmart. If they're performing well, that could outdo the tech guys. Anyway, we shall see. But I still rather be short than long, clearly. So we'll see how it goes. But it's a bit disappointing. But the NAS is making up for it. Those are the trades we got out: dollar yen, dollar Swiss francs, dollar CAD. Get it right. Dollar CAD's doing okay. Yeah, it's not shoot the lights out. It's in a profit. That's okay. NZD CAD. The one we got out when was that? Yesterday, I think. Yeah, yesterday. NZD CAD at 84.90. Again, this has been in since yesterday. Not exactly shooting the lights out. That's about 15 pips, which is the same as about a blip on opening on the NAS. So it's a bit laggy. Hence the popularity of the NAS. People like fast cars. They don't like slow cars. That's the way it is. But it can sometimes be a little less hectic. But anyway, and you were because you're waiting for it and then you missed it. Something else cropped up. Good reason. You seem to sun. I mean, hospital wear. That's good enough. I've missed one or two. Simply because I've been talking on here or something else cropped up. Well, I forgot to put the bloody order. AUD USD was a prime example. I wanted to say, oh, by the way, did you go? Oh, shit, thanks very much. I've forgotten. You know, sometimes I miss it. Too busy saying it that rate, and I forget to put it in myself. So yeah, no hassle there. Anyway, so there it is. We're still getting extreme jip from the GBP CAD. It just cannot get moving. Some guys in nice profit, about 40 pips. Some guys like myself who went in the day early, well, down not much, but it's not getting going. It's trying to. This gave us some hope down here, and then it popped up again, but it's trying to come down, so it might come. Okay, what else? NZD CHF. One or two guys might have taken. I think a lot of people took that one, but I'll have a quick check of it. When we get it or not. So sell at 57.06. It's up a bit at the moment. CHF is up about 26 pips or something at the moment. But anyway, went for that one. It certainly wasn't sent out, so it's not a train smash, unless I suppose you're in it, but it's not exactly that hectically against you. The Microsoft I mentioned yesterday, I've got it written down. I think one or two people did do it. Got it at 80, I think I got it at 80. I think you guys might have gone about 79. I don't know. If you did take the Microsoft, anyway, you'd have profit. Anything. Okay. So overall, the picture not looking too bad. Might get a bit of bounce on NAS after that move off. That seems to be trying to go up and then coming off. We'll see. Let's look at the year. The index 102.61. Not a big deal. It's got up a little bit of a negative, but not a big deal. Yeah. Yields are up a little bit, but nothing spectacular. Sideways at 3.5, so that's fine. Okay, calendar. What happened to the euro? I forgot about that. 3 o'clock was the euro. I was busy doing something else. Let's look at the euro dollar. Anything happening on that one? Upper 3, put in the half an hour one. What's it now? About half an hour ago. No, it came off a little bit of the weakening, but not a tragic amount. But I didn't want to go short, and it was looking at a short, and I just said it's up to you, aggressive, remember? But I think maybe see what happens to the euro. Nothing much. In fact, it didn't contribute anything, but continued down a little bit against the dollar. Okay, pound, anything happening there? I wanted to go, it was 10.45, forgot about that, came out. What was that? Just give me a second. All this stuff in the way on the other screen. GBP USD speaking, 10.45, I think particularly it's just in speaking. So GBP USD was 10.45, so use an hour to go back on that one. What's it? 43211. Yeah, it had a bit of a positive effect, but seems to be coming off as we speak. I personally think this is overcooked, and I think we could get some downside here. You can't see the break above here without sellers coming in. I think it's all about the dollar, but the pound is not exactly a great currency at the moment. And the dollar is extremely iffy, pushed around and mentioned many times about areas, but it seems to be trying a little bit of recovery as we speak. So as a result of it, I think I'm expecting some downside. Never mind it's a buy or sell zone. I'm expecting that sort of reach to sort of a zenith. How far? It's too far away to put up there, I suppose. Yeah, pity. It's too far away. Maybe put it up there, but anyway, whatever, maybe there. And I do see some downside there. If you want more confirmation, I won't blame you, but I think the pound is overcooked and the dollar is oversold, not as undercooked, if you like. Okay, so those ones to consider. If you want RRs, we can look at them, but I'm inclined to a short on that one. And a good chance to break the 1.23 and have a decent stop in case it doesn't. Yeah, I just want to check tomorrow's economic fundamentals. Anything massive coming up on the dollar tomorrow? Just give me a second. Wednesday, pending home sales are reasonably important. Crude oil and just that's not such a big deal. No, it's nothing major coming up on the dollar tomorrow to stuff the system up, for one of a better, well-placed bit of jargon. So yeah, I think some downside potential on this one. Neutral zone there, 4 hour, hovering in that level there, 1 hour. See, lower on the 1 hour, only lower ones. Well, that's not really getting going. I'll give you a due on that one. Not really getting going. Maybe, I think it's a possibility. Not jumping up and down, not exactly excited about it. I think it's a possibility on that one, some downside. Maybe wait for a little bit of, what you call it, confirmation. Okay, yeah, so there it is. US dollar CAD doing all right, NZD CAD doing all right, NZD THF story doing all right. Nasdaq doing very well. Dow's lagging, but we might get some action on this later on. Anything happening over the 15-minute? No, it's not. It's going the opposite way. Well, I don't know. Sodding down. I don't know. Go figure. I don't know why that is. So, Brent is continuing to seem to climb up. I'm a bit surprised there. I think about 80 is going to come to a halt. I'm not sure it's going to start getting much above that, but we shall see. I think most guys are out of it anyway. And too risky to re-enter. I was sitting on the sides on that one. Maybe in retrospect, I was wrong. Maybe we should have gone for it. But get a risk reward. Couldn't find a decent one anyway, even if we wanted to go for it. But anyway, it seems climbing its march. Some guys are still in it. If not, they're trading them elsewhere. Probably by luck and judgment, because they know about modifying stop losses, just hoping it's going to get the TP, so they might actually be right in this case. Okay, so that's really what I've got to say there. Fred Sitoli's new. See any new guys there to just make a second? I think mostly familiar, yeah. So I'll just print first Fred there. Mine's a Brazilian football player called Fred, seems unusual. Right, Fred, welcome to the trading room. I don't think you've been before. If you haven't, welcome. Just make sure you've got the economic calendar. The fundamentals are very important. They can often shift, well, they do shift the market around a lot. So just bear that in mind. We talk a lot about the DXY, that's the dollar index. We won't do the yields just now. We'll say that for a later date. Just cut this one, copy and paste it and save. I don't know how much you've been trading. I assume you've done a little bit. I hope you haven't gone straight here. Some have heard there's something called Forex or stock market, and I think I'll join the trading room. You might get a bit lost. So if you've done your platform training, done your Forex classes, done a couple of CFD classes, maybe a small trade just to get the hang of it, and now you want to brush up on the practical side, hopefully, I think here's your place to be. So if that's the case, Fred, welcome. Okay. Okay, Knowledge, we certainly can do that. Don't forget, it's a forum, you can interact. If you want to look at AUD or something like that, like Knowledge is put down there, we go immediately to it. Call the daily. Yeah, if you believe in a bit of dollar strength, yeah, it's popped up a bit. We had a trade on there. It seems to be holding that resistance level. It could be a bit of downside involved as well on this one. Where can we put the stop? Maybe do a stop and take it down here somewhere. No, can't take it there. Take it there. Maybe 100 pips. Maybe we can go for about a 50, 60 pip stop. No, we can't go there. It's a bit of a pity. I think wait for a bit of confirmation there. The dollar is not that strong, and the Aussie is not that weak. I think might be a little bit of an idea to hang on for that for the moment. If I could have put the stop above here, a decent risk reward, let's say it was this sort of level here at 67.20, I'd be far more enthusiastic. At the moment, ooh, I'm a little bit doubtful there. Bit doubtful. That's holding on the 4. I'll give you a due, give you a plus on that for a sell. Lower lows, lower lows. No, sorry, lower highs, lower highs. I'll give you that one. Again, lower high on the 1 hour. Whoa, this is pretty aggressive. Still like it. Maybe a stop above here, about 50, just over 50 pips, and then a TP down here. Maybe just to play safe here. You get your risk reward. Do you want aggressive, or do you want to wait for more confirmation to the downside, or maybe a bit of a bump up? You need to make your opinion on that. Let me know, and if you want to do the aggressive one, I'll put the RR up for you. Unless you want to go for a long, I'm still happy with the short. Wait for confirmation. Okay, you're leading the idea, and I'm honestly, I don't want to talk you out of it or anything like that. I'm leaning against. I'm leaning your favour there. It's a fairly funny market with all these fundamentals to try and get over aggressive. Fair comment. Okay, happy with that. Probably the same NZD. Most slightly weaker, but not much. Would be the same on this one. Let's have a check. It's a bit of halfway house confirmation job there. See, looks like it's downside, but it's a bit halfway house. I'm afraid I'm saying the same with that one. Okay, I do want to push trades. We're getting enough out, which are pretty decent ones, without being too pushy on it. Rather, you took your money out of your pocket, as Warren Buffett once said, folded it up, and then put it back in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? You haven't made anything, but at least you haven't lost anything that way. That's not, I did think that's daft. Warren Buffett actually said that. Okay. Any questions? Happy with that? Okay. Good afternoon, Derek, or Durkee. Do I call you Durkee or Derek? I'm not quite sure. Both names seem to come up. Durkee sounds a bit familiar. Derek, I think I'll stick with that. Yeah, I think I prefer that. Durkee is something you say when you know somebody well, or, you know, it's like tu and vous in French. Right, okay, that seemed to cover the updates. Yeah, nothing major on the economic fronts happened today, nothing jerking around. Bank of Governor, I didn't listen to him, I've been busy all day actually, but it didn't seem to affect the market much, nor did Lagarde, so I don't think anything major came out there. It's unexpected, otherwise we would just, remember it's the unexpected that move markets, okay? It's like anything in life, the unexpected that moves. The expected not so much. So yeah, I think it's pretty okay on the Western front there. All right, yeah, Nas is still sort of chopping around, keeping in the profit, not jumping, doing daft so far. Dow, is it, and he trying to come off a little bit here? It's a bit of an strange movement, but not sure how long it's getting maintained. What's Walmart do? That's so big it might affect it. Maybe some banks came into it as a bank. Try, but no, that didn't affect it. What about JP? I'm for short on that one. I'm not that confident banks can maintain their happy recovery. Ignore that, guys. That's a glitch in the system. Completely ignore it. Means nothing. Nothing happened there. I don't know why the Dow's going up. I do not know. If the Nasdaq going up, well, it's affecting the share prices. It's not reflecting the non-tech share prices. So I'm not quite sure why that is. So, but it's happening, it's happening. Maybe some emotional bid on it, or rather ask on it, bidding it up. Yeah, GBPCAD, GBPCAD is jumping around, starting to come right again. Good. No, that's going to last. And GBP JPY, we're still in it along. I think getting close to kissing goodbye that one, but that's mine. Remember, one of the other guys here went for short. Sorry, a long on it, doing very well. I went for the short, not doing so well, but that's big as it may. Okay, NZDCHF, somebody wanted, I've got two here. NZDCHF at 57.06, some bought, some sold. NZDCHF. The moment the buyers are in favor, Ntombi again, bloody hell, Ntombi again. Buyers in favor, she was in favor, it's going up. I was in favor of short, and it's going up. So at the moment, it's Ntombi 2, Roger 0. So 3 strikes, you're out, and Ntombi, you better start practicing getting your Zoom Wi-Fi sorted out, because you'll be taking over as host. Don't see he's on at the moment. Well, the banking sector's not doing anything. I'm just using JP, do GS if you like. What's that in GS? It's not doing anything. And remember, the Dow is the big boys. It's not got the smaller banks. It's the 30 biggest companies basically on the planet. Those companies, well, I think no, it's not quite true. 10 cents Alibaba might be a scratch bigger than some, I don't know. But, you know, they're 30 very large companies. The 30 combined wealth of those companies can probably bigger than the entire GDP of the entire African continent. Get the idea? Well, the South American continent and the African continent combined, you know what I mean? Okay, all good. Yeah, it's just they did jumped a bit first, didn't it? It's not a massive one. I took that one over again, but they got a discount. And they did actually very well out of that. Poor insurers, the poor old government yet again. Cop it, but it's not their money, it's taxpayers and borrowed money, so who cares? And printed money, so who cares, eh? I was being facetious, it's important, but people forget about that. When you're a bureaucrat signing a check, you don't really care. When it's your own business, you have a completely different attitude. I remember as a Royal Fleet Auxiliary, I was a merchant navy. He was came under merchant navy, but his main job was to supply the Royal Naval vessels. But even though it was merchant navy, it still came under like a parastate government. And if you're in a normal merchant navy company down the engine, I was an engineer, they're telling me, you know, something's broken, you fix it. RFA, because I sell with a guy who left it and joined one of our companies. And he said, there, they don't break it, you just buy a new one, because it's a bureaucrat signing off a check. I mean, it's not quite as bad as that, but you get the general idea. Half these things coming across the desk of some minister or some guy in charge of these, don't think he reads it, just signs the bloody thing. And maybe he says, I'll give you a couple of bucks to look around, and fair enough, I'll do that. We'll get contemptuous corruption, but I mean, let's be honest, probably be attempted for a couple of $1 million, not to be so quite so holier than thou. As I say, everybody's got their price. It's a determination what that is, with a few exceptions, but mostly, if we're honest with ourselves there. What did Shakespeare say? The love of money is the root of all evil. Not that money is the root of all evil, but the love of money. Because you can't do without it, hey guys? Euro dollar, no, not happening. Okay, right. Anybody would like to discuss in the meantime? Go over a couple of things. Yes, they did. That's exactly what they brought up the assets, Mark. Just getting back to that. If you want to trade idea, just stop me because people are probably not that bothered about it. It won't affect their life too much. But no, what they did was a 23% discount. They brought up the assets, which is like the old asset strip of the 60s, probably what I'm talking about. But in other words, the parts are better than the sum of the whole. And they just brought up the assets at a very nicely 23% discounted price and a lot of assets there. I mean, it's maybe to run the bank caused fear, but the assets are still there. Yeah. And yeah, they did. So they just jumped in. There's no problem there. It makes a lot of sense. The bond that's stuck with, I mentioned this morning, the government picks that up. That's the FDIC, it's insurance part of government part to insure those deposits supposed to be $50,000 below. And of course, they changed that to systematic banking risk. Those guys picked that problem up. So those, don't say junk bonds, it's not as bad as that, but the bonds, like I explained, not the same value because of the difference in the increase in interest rates. They caught that, the Citizen Bank. So they came out of that all right. Hope you all know what I mean by that. Mark, you got a business, right? You got assets there, printing presses, and fancy computers, God, I don't know, whatever you got there. And you've had a bit of a problem with the profit, and suddenly you find you're a big cash flow. I can come in and demand the cash, you haven't got it, you're out of business. So I just grab all your assets and suddenly I find that's worth probably a little bit more. I could have lent you that money on it quite happily backed, but I ain't going to do it because I'm going to grab your assets and do me the big favor. Yeah. Just sort of get what I mean. Hi, Wandili. Hi.
Afternoon, sir.
You must see Pretty Woman. That's exactly what Richard Gere did in Pretty Woman. That was his business. He was an asset stripper. The assets broken up and sold is worth more than the actual whole part put together. That's exactly what the part opposite Richard Gere played. He was an asset stripper. He did what the Citizen Bank did. Never mind any problem. That's irrelevant. It's they're trying to make a buck out of this. I'm not talking about human interest here. Not a lot of bunny hugging going on in this kind of line. You know, it's just that the some of its parts are worth more than the part of the whole itself. So they grab it up, put it up, and pass it on, and thanks very much, and make a nice profit after buying it off the discounted price. And that shipyard, remember, if you saw Pretty Woman, just what everyone has done. Same principle. Then he fell in love with a prostitute. Now we know it's a tape of the dreams, who knows exactly how to behave in a five-star hotel, which and extremely articulate with a bunch of script writers behind her. So it's a dream. It's not always like that in reality. But anyway, and so he decided he's going to be nice and moral, okay, and decided to go into business with the Oak instead. That's in essence what Citizen Bank did. I've taken off platinum. I've taken off platinum. I mentioned it before. We can have a look and they'll see what I mean. Put on daily for you. Not much happening technically, but this is more the point. Right click, left click, look at the specification. Again, it's 10 like gold, no problem there. Look at this. This is a 500 to 1 account. That's 0.24. Divide that's about a 40 to 1 leverage. What does that mean? On a 500 to 1, you probably get about 8 or 9 to 1 leverage on a 100 to 1 account. That means your margin is that much larger to go into it. So I don't know how much money you got, Keone, but I wouldn't be fitting with platinum unless you got a reasonable amount of money, whatever reasonable amount it actually is. But you can't do a 3 or 4, 5, 6 grand. Well, you can, but you're going to tie up a larger amount of money. Your deposit is higher, basically. You want to buy that £1,000,000 house, and you want to, and it's A, and there's another one, B, also £1,000,000. You prefer B, but it's a 20% deposit. The A is 10% deposit. The exposure's the same, but you've got to tie up more money. And you might have 20 grand, but you'd rather put in 10 grand, keep the other 10 grand for moving costs and all the other aspects you need. So problem is, if you go into this, it's a bit slow, a bit sideways, and it's going to tie your money up because it's a much, much lower leverage or much higher deposit or margin. You got it. Well done, clearly. I hope everyone else can see what I mean by that. But it's not just like a movement, which is obviously like a consideration, like NGAT. More of the point is a much higher deposit. And to say, if it means your free margin will be reduced, getting stuck in this, where you can go into 2 or 3 other instruments and still have enough free margin because the deposit is lower. That's the major reason I'm answering. Far, far better fish to fry than platinum. I'd be happy to pay the higher deposit if this thing was incredibly easy to trade and was fast, and 90% of the time it was doing exactly as expected. Then you pay the high deposit. But it's no different than the others. In fact, it's a bit slower than a lot. And then you're tying your far larger amounts of money up. That's the major reason. Always look at the specification and then divide this figure in. If it's a tiny leverage, means a much higher deposit. I just make sure I understand the maths here. £1 million house, 100,000 rand deposit, that's 10%. That's a 10 to 1 leverage. 100 to 1 leverage is only a 10,000 rand deposit. You got 10 grand. You might not have 100 grand. You get my point. So the higher the leverage, the smaller the margin. Okay, so always just know that and divide the two in. You think, bloody hell, I'm a 5 account and I'm getting 40 to 1 leverage on this, or I'm 100 to 1 account, I'm 8 to 1 leverage. I've only got 4 or 5K in my account. I'm going to be tying up that to get a proper size position. It might be stuck and it's quite slow there for the next couple of weeks. And I can't trade that fabulous Roger trade. Oh no, hang on, that fabulous Ntombi trade because my money's stuck in this one. Where is she now? She'll be pleased with all this. Bubba, don't happen to Bubba. Hope finally he's not going to remind me of Bubba. Don't know what happened there. Don't ask. Maybe some profit came up far better than expected. I have a fucking clue what happened there. No idea. I haven't looked into Bubba at all. I've been busy doing some stuff this afternoon. Got it sorted anyway. And calls and stuff to do in the live chat and what else. So I don't know. I just looked at it when it opened and said, what's going on here? And then, then had to start preparing for the trading room. So why that took a jump up, well, your guess is as good as mine. Unless you research it or whatever. I don't know.
No, sorry, I'm not sure. I just know that Ma, the owner or the originator, he returned to China. Ma Tao or somebody.
Yeah, that's right. What about him? What did he do?
He returned unexpectedly back to China.
What's that got to do?
Yeah, and I don't know whether or not that caused now a lot of confidence in the company.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Okay. Yeah, I knew about Ma. What's his name? Jack Ma. Jack Ma. He's probably got a Chinese name. I get that. But Jack Ma is known as. He's gone back to China. And I'll be honest, I didn't think much more about it. I thought it was a bit of gossip news, didn't think much more about it. Good point. That might be because he's gone back there, because maybe it's Hong Kong, like 10 cent Hong Kong registered. Maybe he's gone back there. He's disappeared for a while, actually, but like Agatha Christie, if you remember, and then come back there, and they probably think, Compton's there. It must be okay, and maybe that's some sort of psychological boost. I think that's purely psychology boosting it rather than anything else. Like Marcus talked about a 43% jump in Citizen. I think the last part of that jump is not underwritten by the increased value of the company. Probably a lot of emotional speculation jumping on board. And from that reason alone, I think you might have a point there, family. Yeah, good thinking, my friend. Yeah, Jack Ma, we say, yeah. He's the guy who invented Black Friday, by the way, which you all know about.
Oh, I didn't know that. No. So I already did take a short on it, but small, just to see what's going to happen.
Okay, of course, you stood aside yesterday, a bit worried about you. No wonder you're a bit quiet. Of course, you stood aside. I think it's emotional. I mean, it is what it is. It's a tech company. The NASDAQ look, again, before I get too carried away, bloody thing jumping around. It's still holding below 12.6, and the momentum counts. I think that's maybe, oh, great stuff. We've got our mate Jack back. Jack back. Hey, what do I left with of rhyming? Yeah. And then so was it that great? Well, it's not bad, is it? Really that great? I mean, this is only open for what, an hour? And how far has it jumped? Look at percentage. 12%. That's a bit over the top. You get my point.
Exactly. That's why I took it, because 12% was amazing. It was just too much.
Look, listen, fine. I'll make you a deal. We'll make an agreement here. Your brains, my good looks. We'll team up. We'll do well together. You're quite right. Good thinking. I like it.
Thank you. No, we make a good team, all of us.
Yeah. Did you notice, Anna Marie? Didn't confirm my good looks part. I need some support, Anna Marie. But then I won't get it for the looks part. But moving along, Jack is back. Back in black. There we are. When you get to my age, Keone, you're not too worried whether you look like George Clooney or not. That sort of thing when you're posing around in the fashionable nightclubs in your 20s with about 10 tons of Brill cream on, or what they put on these days. I've been out of date with Brill cream. Hey? Brill cream went out thick with the arc. He's having that cackle there, Mr. Murray there, yeah. I haven't shown the bloody there, Brill cream. I'll be talking about Old Spice's aftershave. Huh?
Exactly, and don't forget the comb in the sock.
That and the comb in the sock, that's correct. My dad used to do that. Actually, I think he did it when he came over to visit before he died, back in about year 2000. And a pair of sandals or whatever with a sock. I don't know, that sort of thing. I said, Dad, please, no. It's not cool. Not over here anyway. And you said, no, don't give a shit what's cool. You can say shit because you can swear. Don't give a damn what's cool. Makes me comfortable. Sodom. Cork Bay Brigade. Well, I know Cork Bay, but I didn't know that. I've lived in Cape Town for several years. So I obviously know about Cork Bay. So they go back, do they? Okay, socks down, Cork Bay Brigade, yeah. And the 1, 2, 3, was it 1 litre of Clippies, 2 litres of Coke, and a 3 litre Cortina? And the soap peel, remember the soap peel? Not used much these days, eh? I'm not sure what it means to Anna Marie. Maybe you can help me out. Could you give me a full explanation what that means? Soap peel. You like that, Barbie? Embarrass the poor lady, yeah. What, the 1, 2, 3? Yeah. You live in Cape Town. I know what you mean. Yeah. Behind the Iron Curtain, you go north of bloody Newlands. I know what you mean. Aha, good answer, Anne-Marie. Good answer. Aha, good answer. I'm good at ripoffs. Sorry, young guys, for all the hell. About time the aged got some advance over the youngsters today. Okay, anyway, maybe some fun. It's all great stuff. Are we getting trades out? So maybe let's move on. Anything about CAD CHF? No, CAD GBP CAD one way around. Sorry, GBP CAD. It's trying, very bloody trying. It's trying, give it its due. It's sodding trying. And forget GBP JPY. Put that down as a cock up. That one, from my point of view, is the other one. Tommy's getting right. NZD CHF, is that coming to the party as well? Looks like yeah. 2 and Tomby, 1-0 for me. Oh, well done. What about the US dollar? That was mine. Maybe that can the party. US dollar can. No, that's coming off a bit now. I'm just shutting my mouth off. Pity. I was doing quite well earlier on. Maybe it's giving an opportunity to get in if you like it there, Mark. It's come off quite nicely. We got it out at 45, shot up. This is what, a 15-minute chart, isn't it? No, daily chart. So it shot up to 94. Then only took profit on that because it shot up beautifully. Some guys got near the round figure 37, might have taken a modified stop, might have taken profit, not be in it. But if you missed it, if you like that trade, might as well have a look at it again. Look at the DXY. It's hovering around about 1.260, not fireworks, but it's up a little bit. If you still like it, there's your opportunity to go back in again. And silver woke up. Yeah. So we got your best interests at heart then, Mr. Machiro. Silver gone up. Yes, it has indeed. Trouble is now he's going to turn around and say when he went with a snail amount. Best way to trade, by the way, guys, is when you go to trade, put a tiny amount in. I guarantee it will take off in your direction. Overexpose, I guarantee the opposite will happen. Number one, trading rules. There you are. Every single time, mate, Mark. Okay. Can we put a stop loss in TP? Yeah. Okay. Right. Good one. All right. Good. I'll throw it back at you. Pick an instrument for me, and we'll do it together. Good idea. That's an excellent idea. Next, drop down the chat line in instrument. Doesn't matter which one. It could be any instrument. Any instrument. Chat it. Put it down there, and then US dollar CAD. Okay, we'll do that. Just thinking it. All right. We don't want too close to stop because of the noise, the up and down. Then we get stopped out in the noise. We all know what that means, hey? So we're going to put a stop in here. So what I do is I put the cross line there. I left click and hold the left part of the mouse down, drag it down. Remember, these are points. That's not 360. It's 36 pips. I'm looking to try and get below here if I can. Trying to get below here. I can just about squeeze it. That's why we got the stop there. Just below that. And the last time was that level was back in 27th, was a month ago. So it's quite a while ago. And it's got quite a bit of protection, so slightly out of the way. Only downside with that, it reduces your position size accordingly, because the wider the stop, obviously the smaller the volume. And you've got to start looking at least 160, 150 up there. We found it in this sort of direction here with the TP, so that wasn't a problem. That's why we took it as the stop loss there. If this guy had been down here, we'd have to make a bad one to trade to maybe down to this sort of level here. Just below that guy there, and it's 90. But I thought just have a slightly wider, more protection, and a slightly wider TP. You're more protection. I'm more worried about the risks than the reward. The reward, as I say, looks after itself. You look after the equity management. So once that's out of the way, so you're getting a bit of annoyance here, but you're still in, and it comes down, and then it turns up, you're still on board, and then once it's up there, modify your stop. Often you might risk 10 and only get 8 out of it, but rather risk 10, get 8, than risk 10 and lose 8, you know what I mean? But that's the sort of tightrope walking you do. But that's the sort of general idea. You see there's a bit of support here, and keep it out of the way. I wouldn't want to put it there, because it could easily knock you out before it shoots up. And remember, your stops and TPs are buy or sell orders put out into the market, and institutions, everyone can see them who's got access to that kind of pro platform. And we don't have it here, but the professional platforms often have that access. And you've got a big book there, and you can put in, let's say, 200-300 lot sizes, no problem at all, some 1,000 lot size. You might see that, and you can play the market down, grab those stops, grab the product, and shoot back up. Stop grabbing, that sort of thing. And so rather keep it out of the way of those guys. Bit to be learned, hey guys, bit to be learned. But that's good. It's interesting, makes it interesting anyway, and it'll add to the, hopefully, the productive at the end of it. And I'm trying to get people away from the old days of relying on stochastics and all that sort of thing, because there's much more involved now at the advent of the cell phone, where we all have two things. The advent of the cell phone, we all have immediate access to news stroke propaganda, and to the exponential increase in the retail market, which unfortunately tends to strategies based more on emotion and lack of knowledge rather than proper strategy. That's what I try to correct here in the trading room. And that can happen. That's why I get some funny movements, because some large collective amount of retail guys says, "Oh, I see a bit of red, I'll short it," and it comes down. Why is it going down? Because they thought, well, it's coming down, so it's a good idea. I see a bit of red there. It's a bit high. I think I'll short it. If one person doesn't matter. You get a few 100,000 doing it, millions out there of the retail guys, they will force it down, and that confounds a lot of the guys who are fairly scientific. That's the emotional aspect of the amateur overcoming the pro. It's like you don't really understand poker properly, and Farney's a professional poker player, and I'm not. He doesn't know I'm a clueless guy. He doesn't know that, and I'm holding on. He's reading all my body language. And he's saying, "I think I might fold here." I don't think I'm going to call him because this guy clearly's got a good hand. Right, to be fair, in films, you show your hand to lose. You don't in reality, you've got to pay to see it. In this case, to prove my point, I'm going to show my hand to Farney. And he says, "What, you're so confident ace high?" "Well, isn't the ace very high there, Farney?" And he's going to grab his head, because he had a full house. But I didn't know what that is. I thought an ace was high. So I was confident. He read my body language comment. He folded against the ace high, simply because I hadn't got a clue how much an appalling hand it was. That's what happens a lot in the retail movements, and that can cause go figure, if you see what I mean. Make sense, guys? I have a feeling Mark will know that, because he gives me the impression he spent a misspent youth understanding what poker is. I'm pretty sure of it. Anne-Marie understands. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right. So you're a formidable poker player, were you in your youth? Okay. The truth is out. I'm going to put that on social media. There you are. The daughter's a pro poker player. Our boyfriend is it? Tell you was, a top one was actually Shane Warne. He wasn't number one, but he was up there. He's a professional up there. Extremely good. He's quite a guy, that, hey. Bowled well. I'm told pretty good looking. Well, it must have been. He got up with Lives Hurley, got engaged, in fact. And yeah, top poker player. What are those guys you hate? What do they do? They land on their sodding feet. Push them out the building, and it's never the top floor, it's always the ground floor. Okay, a bit of fun, a bit of banter, I've enjoyed it. Nothing special on the trading front, I can come up brilliantly, but I can interact with some new guys, Fred there, or whatever. It's all very well, but I come to learn stuff, interact. We got some trades out. Copy and a couple of things I'm going to go through. Copy and paste it for you. The dollar index and the economic calendar, very important. You know how to check on each instrument. These are all called instruments. They're silver, doesn't matter what. Specifications. Then you check the contract size, your margin, full access. Some might say close only. Means you can't enter out there, or short only, none got the moment. Not short only, so long only, and every short only. Long only means you can't short it, things like that. Just check it out. The other one is always make sure you've saved your charts. Where is it now? Templates. Right click on the blank part of your chart, left click on templates, save the template like that, put your name in, and then press save. So if you lose your charts, you right click. Again, remember templates, go to there, and this time you're not saving. You just pick the one there and it comes back if you lose your charts. Okay, I'm just going to put my number on there as well, just so I think everyone's got it. Somebody might have dropped in, haven't got it, or a reminder. Train support. Oh, it's a WhatsApp. Just remember, don't phone me, make it a WhatsApp. If it needs more than a voice message or a WhatsApp message, text message, phone you on request, and I have to phone from another computerized number because it's recorded. I just have to say again, I'm licensed to advise. Just go over this. I'm not boring, most guys know this. I'm licensed to advise. So trading signals and advice on trading. If you're not licensed or registered with the Financial Services Conduct Authority, you can't give trading advice. That section, like the account managers or the tech guys, tech support guys, they would be deemed as intermediaries under the terms of FAIS, Financial Advisory Intermediary Services. So they can be intermediary, help you open up a live account, help you outdo this, try this or whatever, but they can't say, do you think I should go in the US dollar CAD? They can't say that. If you're getting a trade idea from them, if they copy and paste mine, even though not say it's a good or bad, just a license part I'm talking about, they can. If it's one of their own, even if it's a brilliant one, they can't. Okay. Now, Fani and Mark and Marius have some sort of, Anna Maria have a group going between them. That's a different story. But they can't go out and say, right, even though they might be top traders, it's a legal thing, they can't advise. Okay. They can amongst themselves outside that. No, you might be a brilliant driver, but you haven't got a driving license, you're not on the road. If you're a crap driver and you've got a driving license, you are. It's just regulations, just so you know. It's not. It's come off a bit, not quarter mine, it's not dropping like a stone. Not mine, it's 102.59, it's come off a bit. It's quite different. That's typical of what happens to the markets out there. One M1, yeah, well, that's not dropping like a stone. That's the sort of thing we want to avoid there. Sound like a bloody guy on the front page. Bloodbath, it's come off a couple of points and everyone panics. That's not dropping like a stone. Go into the one tick chart and drop even bigger like a stone. I think it's emotion taking over totally. Might have a good point. So look at it. Well, it's not much action on the day. Let's try the 4 hour. Not my, I don't think it's so daft either. I mean, it might get a TP, I don't know. It seems to be much more in a trading range. All I can say to that, if you're in a profit and you're extremely nervous about it, then take it. If you're in a profit and it's got enough room or space between your entry market and where you modify your stop loss to, then you can modify. But if you're nervous, take it. I can't say it's looking pretty good. Hang on in there, and the thing comes off. You can be fed up with it. But I can see that you got a point. If you look at the wick on that, see a few sellers have come in. It did again yesterday, or sorry, 4 hours ago. So yeah, if you've got a profit, you're comfortable with it. I don't know what it is. You covered your costs and you're happy with it. That's a percentage. Work out a percentage. If you've got £1,000 and you make 25 grand, that's 2.5% in a day. That's 400% a year. That's a phenomenal return. So if you're happy with your profit, fine. I'm a bit anti people taking profit too quick and handing on to losers to get stopped out, because then you've got to win several more than lose. But if you are feeling a little bit nervous about it, you can. But yeah, it seems to be trying to move up a bit. But yeah, I'm not totally against it, but looking at that, but like I just said, it's up to you now. And NK, don't blame yourself. You're young, you just started. It's impossible to overcome. I've got those emotions. Everyone will have. You'll get better, but you'll never get rid of them. It's part of your DNA. You don't want to be no emotions. You want to have love. You want to have caring. Just basically understand them what they are. They glibly say, you know, control your emotions, don't be emotional, all that. That takes an intense amount of discipline. You watch some of these golfers who just lost the FedEx Cup, that $15 million. And they're just by 2 inches amidst the putt, they picked it up. They don't throw the toys out of the cup. They walk calmly forward, take the hat off, pick the ball up and go and shake the winner's hand. I'll jump up and down, break the clubs, beat everybody up, kick the dog, divorce my wife, and go and get drunk so I'm thrown out into prison for stupid things. You know what I mean? Exaggerated, but you know what I mean? That kind of control is beyond most people on the planet. So all we do is exercise a little bit towards that, if you know what I'm saying. It seems to be rising at the moment, so just keep an eye on it. Yeah. Yes, Greg, my husband. Yeah, is he very controlling? But some people are. It's like my brother-in-law. He's just incredibly strong in that area. I could live another 100 years and I wouldn't be like that. It's just the way it is. It's like a guy can spend all his life trying to, like Sean Connery, build a golf course in his estate, and his devotion was to get better than a 9 handicap. He never managed. You know what I'm saying? It's just that everyone said, "Oh, you can do anything." No, there are certain limitations and where you can achieve. Otherwise, we'll all be number one. Eh? You have to just face up to some personal reality. Oh, I see. It's the other way around. Sorry, I thought it's ultra cool. Okay, yeah, I understand. So you have to keep your head when everyone else is losing theirs, eh, Anna? Is that right? I get it. Forget who said that, but yeah, quite a famous saying. That. Probably Mark Twain or Abraham Lincoln. I talk about that. I mentioned it before. You know, Abraham Lincoln. I want to talk about Trump being unpopular. The most unpopular president in American history is actually Abraham Lincoln. Latterly became, without doubt, the most popular and the most loved, but at the time he was the most unpopular. So it just shows, eh? I'm not too sure about that astrology thing. I'm not against it, bro. I just don't know it. I know I'm an Aquarian. That's about it. So a Virgo is here, a Cancer, or a Capricorn, and you can tell them it's September and early June. I have no idea. Okay, so just have a recap, see if any of these trades are still progressing. I'll start with the Dow, because that's giving some jip. This is looking a bit pretty, isn't it? Ah, that's looking a bit prettier. Let's move down. What's gold doing? 66. That's going up. Gold's going up. Should drag up the silver for you. The NK. What's this one now? Brent. We're not in Brent, but it's doing okay. I wouldn't chase it now though. I know you're in a short. I sincerely hope you're in a short, Derek. I'll be asking you questions if you're long then, but it's doing okay. So far, so good. GBP CAD. Boring, but it's trying to get there. But some guys are in profit. Those guys have got in on the signal, be 50 pips in profit. If you're that fed up with it, take it. If you're not that fed up with it, modify your stop into a profitable area, maybe 5 to 10 pips below entry. And if you get stopped out, so be it. If it continues, so be it. It's doing okay. It might get some run. It's battling, but we're stuck at it 3-4 days now, plus the weekend. What else? NZDCHF, that's in Palm Beach trade. It's NZDCHF. That's really shooting the lights out. So that's another one for Tombi. 2-0 to her, I mentioned. I'm going to be honest, I did go into it, but very small. I was not the comments I tried to make out on that one. It's more a bit of fun, in all honesty, but they'd go in, a little bit of money about it, but quite small. I went a reasonable size of the NASDAQ, which seems to be doing okay, in fact, more than okay. US dollar CAD, anything happening there for our good friend Mark to catch up with us? No. Oh, no. Why the hell did you come on board, Mark? He was doing fine till you joined. Oh, you did? Okay. Shame. I'll give this poor guy a compliment if he likes it or not. That's for calling us Varleys, eh? Yeah, okay. Well, you got it all. That's all right. Well, if you've got it there, that's fine. I thought you got about 45. Oh, brilliant. I take it all back at teasing, but no, it's come back in a bit. That's great. In theory, should be all right there. Because he says it's storming down or whatever it is, and it's on the minute chart. Let's put on the minute chart there. Well, it's not much storming there, but no. If you think it's coming down too quickly, go to the weekly or the monthly chart. Slows it down a bit. There you are. Yeah. Fair enough. No problem with that, Mark. Yeah. Not doing too badly, so we can laugh a little bit, forget the other ones not so pretty. And we're into some of them, not stopped out yet. They seem to be all right. I don't know why, but most of them seem to be all right. Yeah, that's covered most of that. Pity about the US dollar CAD. I mean, I'm happy for you, Mark, to be honest. It was 94 earlier on. If anyone took it, the profit that is, we shall see. I don't know if you're still there, one Dealey. Posted me a little thing. Yes, he is. Just before you know. I won't most of you probably say go to chasing you. Yeah, don't try. Yeah, no, Mark. You do that again and again. Try not to. Try not to, my friend. See that not just you. There's a few other names who won't mention, like the trading room, who did well. One guy did phenomenally well. This was a few months back. I told him to shut the computer down, do something else. I will. And I just sneaked back into his name, but half an hour later, he was back on again. It's the drug. That's not trading. That's when you're on a drug. You can't stop, sort of thing. That's the discipline you have to walk away. But easier said than done. It's incredibly difficult. I like a beer. I need one beer and I'm going to go. 2 beers, the conversation starts getting interesting. And then the 3rd beer, it's getting fascinating. Plus the chemical influence of the beer. Now you must go. Now the last thing you want to do is go. Maybe just squeeze one more in. Same sort of principle. It's you're a chemical guy there. What happens? The dopamine is taken over, and that gives you the pleasure, and that's the reward. The dopamine chemical being released, saying this is all right, mate. Let's continue. And that's what happens. Apparently, that's what happens to heroin, by the way. It overtakes that. I don't think that's the dopamine. There's another chemical behind it. You might know more than I do on that one. Some unpronounceable chemical, and that gives you the pleasure of, having children and passing exams and whatever. Apparently, one hit of that, it takes over that dopamine, gives you extreme pleasure, and that's why the addiction is so much. And they say, well, how does that psychological addiction affect you physically if you stop? Because when you stop something that's so wonderful, you start going like if the loved one walks out with the kids, you go into mental depression, it affects you physically, that sort of thing. It's quite interesting to know the background behind it. It is a dopamine one, Dean. Absolutely it is. That is the problem. And that's why he just made a big one. The last thing I'll do is pack up and go home. Let's look for another trade. And believe me, you'll find one. Whether it's any good or not is the problem. And this is where the commentator's curse, God's law, Murphy's law, Mark and Roger's law comes in. Right, whatever happens, it's like the Almighty above says, you've done well and you're getting cute now. I'm going to influence the market just to punish you personally, Mark or Roger or whoever it happens to be. Sounds ridiculous, but it seems to happen, eh? Anyway, Wandili, you put something out just now. We can have a quick look at it. If you've got any trades, I'll stop the little video there, and then we can look at that. That comes first. But it's quite an interesting video. I'll just stop the share. If you don't want to look at it, tell me. I'll have to stop the share. It might be of interest to you. Share the screen, just a second. Don't make it
okay, no problems.
Okay, yeah, just share the screen. Where is it now? Screen to share. Okay, that. Can't find the bloody thing. Yeah. Where is it now? Oh, this crap's getting. Here we are. Tell me if you can see it okay.
First, here's my take.
Before we do anything, can you see the screen? Can you see the screen with Farid Zakari?
Yes.
Okay, I might interject occasionally to point it out. Now, first of all, this guy you may or may not know has been a long time pundit or anchor of CNN, the counterfeit news network. Okay, now I had a great name in the past, but it was completely, utterly taken over by, I think his name, was it Mark or was it no? What's his name again? Zucker's his surname, not Zuckerberg, Zucker. Something Zucker. I keep thinking Mark Zuckerberg's. Get his first name, we confuse the two. Anyway, Zucker's the surname. And it became corrupt, and it's completely, utterly unbiased narrative for a specific, well, as we know, that specific propaganda issue. And he's been a long time server there. So I'm not saying he's wrong or right, but just understand where the narrative comes from. So we'll have a look at it. Zachariah.
The most interesting outcome of the three-day summit between Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping got limited media attention. Describing their talks, Putin said, "We are in favor of using the Chinese yuan for settlements between Russia and the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin America." So, the world's second largest economy.
Sorry to interrupt. I just want to just do this. Might be annoying, but go to Doc Rich. He's pretty good. He does that. Trying to interpret. Number one, they would say that. The China's not saying, no, we'd much rather have the euro. Of course they're going to say that, number one.
And its largest energy exporter, together actively trying to dent the dollar's dominance as the anchor of the international financial system.
Of course they would. Why wouldn't they? It's in their interest.
Will they succeed? The dollar is America's last surviving superpower. It gives Washington unrivaled economic and political muscle. It can slap sanctions on countries unilaterally, which frees that country out of large parts of the world economy.
So,
and Washington can
right. First of all, remember they're complaining about Russia and China because they want to do exactly the same thing themselves. I'm not knocking any side. I'm trying to see it objectively. So they're doing it because they don't want them to have control, because they want to have control. See what I mean? And Washington can spend freely. That's the big point. Remember, we've been talking about spend freely. What a bloody pleasure. Debt, print more money, etc. And you're controlling it through your own currency. That'll come to a halt if they don't have that as the base currency, to get the point.
And certain that its debt will be bought up by the rest of the world.
Exactly.
The war against Ukraine, combined with Washington's increasingly confrontational approach to China, have created a perfect storm in which both Russia and China are accelerating efforts to diversify away from the dollar. Their central banks are keeping less of their reserves in dollars, and most trade between them is being settled in the yuan. They are also making efforts to get other countries to follow suit. The Biden administration has handled the economic war against Russia extremely effectively by building a coalition of almost all the world's advanced economies. That makes it hard to escape from the dollar into other highly valued stable currencies like the euro or the pound or the Canadian dollar, because those countries are also warring with Russia. What might have been a sharper turning point for the dollar's role was Donald Trump's decision in May 2018 to pull out of the Iran nuclear deal. The European Union was strenuously opposed to this move, but it watched as the dollar's dominance meant that Iran was immediately excluded from the world economy. Jean-Claude Juncker then...
Sorry to interrupt again. You've got to understand. So what they're actually saying, remember, this is extremely biased towards Biden. Maybe I'm not slightly biased towards it. Okay. Now, basically, sorry, I lost the thread on that one now. Where was it now?
First, here's my take. The most interesting outcome of the three-day summit between Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping got limited media attention and make the yuan a true they do not become the next Russia. The numbers are revealing. The share of dollars in global central bank reserves has dropped from roughly 7.
So that's right. Yeah. So in other words, you're supposed to be a Democrat and you're allowing what's happening in Iran going, because it might exclude them and not have you as part of the dollar system, which you want. That is a bit of a contradiction of terms from what they're saying there to their democratic approach to fairness. So that's another contradiction. Okay.
8% 20 years ago to less than 60% today and falling steadily. The Europeans and the Chinese are trying to build international payment systems outside the dollar-dominated SWIFT. Saudi Arabia has flirted with the idea of pricing its oil in yuan. India is settling most of its oil purchases from Russia in non-dollar currencies. Digital currencies might be another alternative, and in fact, China's central bank has created one. All of these alternatives add costs. But the last few years should have taught us that increasingly nations are willing to pay a price when they want political goals to trump economic ones.
No,
they keep searching for...
Disagree entirely. No, they don't. It comes back to income coming in, never mind your political.
A single replacement for the dollar, and there will not be one. but could the currency suffer weakness by 1,000 cuts? That seems a more likely scenario. The author and investor Ruchir Sharma points out, right now, for the first time in my memory, we have an international financial crisis in which the dollar has been weakening rather than strengthening. I wonder if this is a sign of things to come. If it is, Americans should worry. I spoke last week about the bad geopolitical habits Washington has developed because of its unrivaled unipolar status. It's even more true economically. America's politicians have gotten very used to spending seemingly without any concern about deficits. Public debt in America has risen almost fivefold from roughly $6.5 trillion 20 years ago to $31.5 trillion today. The Fed has solved a series of financial crises by massively expanding its balance sheet, almost 12-fold, from around $730 billion 20 years ago to about $8.7 trillion today. All of this only works because of the dollar's unique status. If that were to wane, America will face a reckoning like none before.
Exactly. You all get that, guys. It's trying to enforce the cause to hold on to the dollar simply for his own reasons. Understand the other guys don't agree. I mean, it's measured in dollars. It's going up and down all the time. We've got to put our petrol costs up over here, even though the dollar price in oil is the same. But the strengthening or weakening of the dollar affects the petrol price over here and outside the dollar countries because their currency is not US dollar. And they don't want that to happen for obvious reasons. And they're complaining about it because it's inconveniencing them. But they forget the other side wants to convenience themselves alternatively. So there's got to be some sort of give and take where we understand that we've got a bit of give, you've got a bit of give, we get an equal trade-off. They're not seeing it that way. They're seeing it purely for their own political narrative and their own power wants. And that's what I specifically have against this control narrative of the so-called Democrats that seem to be made up of billionaires or anything but democratic and only after one thing called power. Does that all make sense? Do you see what I want about one deal? You posted this, I think it's very good. And that is, he's just saying that, trying to support the system with clearly, it's actually, if you watch it properly, is giving every reason why he's incorrect, if you see what I'm saying. So yeah, I don't know any thoughts on that. Anyone stuck around and get too bored, that is.
Makes sense now. Sir.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any other comments on that? It quite said they can spend more money. Look at the deficit. Spending recklessly. Go on. What have we been talking about? The trading for ad nauseum. Just that, and that's creating the problem. That makes. I'm sorry, I'm not here to support the EFF party. But that makes about as much as the Economic Freedom Front, economic ideas. Might be a good bunch of guys. I'm not knocking them as people or whatever, they might be okay. But from an economic sense point of view, well, no, it doesn't make sense. Hope he's not in there because a few guys might be. But a lot of it's emotional selling rather than backed up by economic facts. And that is really, yeah. That was an excellent one. Thank you, Andili. But yeah, hoist by his own petard, as they say.
Welcome, sir.
Now, I've been to America all right, over 20 years ago, maybe 30 years ago now. And yeah, there's a lot of things I admire about it. But it's parochialism. That's a fancy way of saying everything. They don't travel. Most of them haven't got passports. So they're completely hand fodder for the media propaganda system. And that's why they produce more PhDs in the world, the top universities are there, but the majority of people are quite frankly, well, uninformed, shall we say, and easy to play with. Bloomberg, again, part of the elitist globalist system. So is Richie Sunak, a great man, very bright lad. He's still part of that club, if you like. Well, of course, they'll do it every bloody time. They'll do it every time, John. I mean, have to. When you've got that kind of power, the knock-on effect for everyone else is so much. They'll say, oh, we'll have a government shutdown. I'll do that. And then, of course, they don't. And then they raise it again. Of course, they will. don't know, I created myself. I forgot how I did it now. So I just plant stuff of interest and that WhatsApp my saved. Just do that. Anything of interest, just to have it handy to copy and paste elsewhere. Not quite sure I did it now. Did it a couple of years or so ago. Playing around, you know. If you're a non-computer guy, Mark, and you play around, suddenly come the answer. Then someone else, how do you do that? You're just playing around, you forgot how you did it. Ticked on a few things, it came right, forgot how. This is not treating me well, this damn thing. You did it. I'll stop the share. Put this back again, sorry. Stop the share. It's not treating me well or anybody this US CAD now. Things so bloody brilliantly early on. That's the market for you. It's coming off a bit now. So yeah, I forgot how I did it. Yeah, but the trouble is, John, you're not bored with it. Discuss it. From getting back to the gold standard now, you're going to have a massive deflation because the whole economy is not built on. Remember, I speak about the £1 million house. We've listed 1 million shares to start with. Now we listed 2 million, 3 million to bring the value of those shares down. Suddenly, to do that, bring it back, you're going to have a massive deflation. House price will fall down, and the knock-on effect is not as simple as that. We've created almost. We let the monster out the cage on this fiat currency thing, and maybe a few banks have got to fall and take the medicine, but otherwise it's just going to grow. So it's completely out of hand, you know. Like an economic rest, yeah, well, that's one way of putting it. And to remember, in democracies, you got to get to one man, one vote. And a guy who gets a T-shirt to vote for you, another one's a PhD in economics. They all get the same amount of votes, as in one. So what are the majority? You get that, and that's what your sales pitch. Remember, doctors basically a sales pitch. And that's your sales pitch goes to that majority, so they get their vote to retain their power. Yeah. You can't shut that down. Look at the First World War. It went on from about 1915, 16 onwards to the end. Mainly it was a stalemate, but nobody wanted to pay reparations. The cost of the war was so hectic. So the loser pays reparations. And in the end, look what happened to Germany. The reparations so hectic, carved them up, and then it made it totally unacceptable. All right, they got the rise of Adolf Hitler. He survived, maybe we can find it, I don't know. But come with the moment, come with the man. And backed and led on to the Second World War. It's so sometimes the medicine is so bad that they're too scared to dish it out. It's a bit like the guys going on strike now in the government agencies, the government, the Escoms and the Transnet or whatever. If it was based on economics, like free enterprise, private sector is what I'm looking for. They'd be looking to fire people, certainly not increasing the wages. You see what I mean? So when you deal with a situation like that, it's yeah. That's exactly what happened. The Lloyd George, at the time of the First World War, was get out of his mind about what would happen if they decided an armistice in 1916, because it's going nowhere, save their lives, because they'd have to split the reparations. And that means extreme increase in taxes. They don't understand why. They blame the guy in charge. So he said, no, we'll fight on and make them pay. A few more million died. It's just, we know what goes on behind the manipulation scenes, the big power money. It's pretty horrific. So I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm just anti-totalitarianism. I'm pro-individual increase of thinking. So we can't get this combined module of people to, just vote the way that bloody will told to. It seemed to be a bit of an uphill battle. Anyway, that being as it may, just have a quick check through here. This is causing some jip, but what goes down must come up now, eh? That must be the reason, eh? Maybe it will do. So let's hope. Gold is, what's the dollar doing? Just check again. The gold's still going up. Dollar's a little bit on the weak side at the moment. See how that pans out. Is the NAS still coming off? Not doing much. Is the Dow coming off? Sort of, but not much. So it's a bit iffy at the moment going into this evening. I think, to be honest, guys, we discuss a lot of time, just to repeat, sorry, a bit boring. It's this tussle between inflation to reduce it with interest rate increase, or allowing inflation to continue and decrease interest rate to get the banks to start getting a little bit more solid on the balance sheet. So that tussle goes on. We're going to see a lot of twos and fronts in the market. Just modify your stock, be careful. And as I said before, in the trading room, and we're out there in the trading, we're not doing, believe it or not, too badly, considering this is about as difficult as it gets. So put that into your sort of comfort feeling of positiveness, if you like, because when we've got these sort of things sorted out, and I've been there when it's been good, and believe me, if you get through this, when it gets good, don't overdo it. It becomes that easy, you start overdoing it. And we hope to get back to that soon. Okay, any question, guys? Like a buffet, yeah. That's a good, I like that, like a buffet, yeah. You pile your plate up and then you missed out on some because you just don't have any room left. You always force it till you're sick because it's like a buffet. I like that, yeah. Okay, so yeah, I hope you're learning stuff. Stick with it. Well done, Mandla, on that GBP JPY, and well on Tom with the thing of both of them. My turn next, guys. Just be aware of that. I'm you're right. You could be wrong next time we have a buy-sell scenario, but it's good fun. We're learning, and I hope you're enjoying it. It's been slightly different today because you know, having more brilliant out. But so I thought I'd spend some time trying to get everyone to think, get an overall picture and understanding, and be very wary where the news area comes from when you're taking it on board. Remember, if you go to, let's say, Fox News, you know it's going to be pro-Trump, anti-Biden. If you go to MSNBC or ABC or all the others, basically, including CNN, Trump's a god and Biden's wonderful and Trump's awful. You get the idea. And the major thing is those are owned by the tech billionaires, about as Democrat as my backside after power. And the guys like Trump, whether you like him or not, those guys want to upset the apple cart. And that's the last thing you want. Look at the problem that our good friend, Mr. Raposa, is having with the guys there. It's extreme difficulty because it's set. They don't want him there for those reasons. It's power and where you come from. Okay, we go again tomorrow. Good stuff. Brent, leave it alone. Brent, people talk about 74. We all had a trade out. Some guys are still in it with a TP of 80. So a lot of guys are still in the original trade about a week ago. To revisit it now, you're pushing your luck to sell short. And I can't advise that since we got 80 TP. But you're probably thinking maybe with a technical area to fall back again. And you might well be right there. I'm going to sit on the sidelines here. And I wouldn't be buying it now, no. You won't get a risk reward. But I think where you come from, reading your mind rightly, Mandla, you're thinking it's gone up there, it might have a bit of a fallback. And quite frankly, you might be right. But is it enough momentum to take a trade on it with a correct stop loss and TP? Is there enough fundamental reason why that should happen? It might still squeeze to 80 before it falls off. I personally think probably better leave it alone. But I take your point if you're thinking of shorting it. And I think I understand the reasons why. Okay, well, I was on the right level and you think of shorting it there. I would, it might come off, I don't know, but I only know afterwards. But I can only do what I do now. I'll be a little bit hesitant. Yes, I agree with you. If I had to go in, probably thinking maybe some downside. Yeah, I would. But nowhere near enough to say I'm going to put real money on it. Okay, thank you, guys. Any questions? Are we done? Hope I didn't bore you. If you found it interesting, quieter moments, we'll continue with this bits and pieces if it is of interest. And I think it should be because you need to know the overall picture, not just a green and red moving around the chart. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Then you know the background, what's all behind. And I'm sure, you know, most guys out there trading didn't know the person by hedging, the counterparty risk and this sort of thing. So we pick up some background knowledge, makes a lot of it clearer. So I hope if you're not, well, don't just not come and join us here. Obviously, don't be too rude about it, but say, no, can we move on with just talk about trade? I'm not interested in hearing about macroeconomics, and I'll leave it alone, you know, up to you. But if you do find it interesting to get the overall picture and you want, we'll find other stuff we can discuss. Okay. Thank you, guys. Okay, right. Well, not much I can add. We've looked at all the ones. It's not going to get a new one out now unless you chuck one out in this last couple of minutes. You certainly look at it. But to think we've got several out now in a very, very iffy market fundamentally. We don't want to have too many out. Anything could happen. And see if we can build again tomorrow and the next day and take it from there. Good. Thanks very much for your support and see you tomorrow. Cheers, hey. Bye. Oh, sorry. By the way, guys, before you go, don't forget 1 till 2 p.m. tomorrow is the micro indices explanation for those who don't fully understand it. Difference in contract size and why the difference is there. I'll do a quick 1-hour session on that. Those who understand it, go and have lunch. Cheers.
Thank you, sir, for the day.
Thank you, Vandina. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you. No, sorry, NK, not in this training room. I'll post it on tomorrow. Just remind me, I'll post it on the trading room tomorrow morning, the ID for it. It'll be probably sent out by Jark to all the guys on WhatsApp, and I'll post again on my group WhatsApp. If you're not on that, you don't receive it, just give me a reminder tomorrow morning. It's the same one as last week, same one every Wednesday, and yeah, then please do that, and I'll get your mum to do it as well. And then I'll just remind me tomorrow, and I'll post it on the chat line for you in the training. It's a slightly different one. Okay, just register in the normal way. Okay. Actually, hang on, don't go. I might be able to do it now. Don't go away. I might be able to do it now. Just give me a second. Just give me a second. I might be able to do it now. Hang on. My saved items. Just be patient. Still got a few minutes left anyway, so don't have to rush. Just I got the right one there. Hope it's the right one. Ah, where's the bloody thing gone now? Where's the chat line gone now? I think it's the right link. I'll post it in a minute. Just give me a second. Just give me a second, guys. Faffing around here. No, I think it's the wrong one. I think it's the right one. Just a second. Where the hell is it now? I'll update. It's the wrong one. I'll update it to you tomorrow. That's not the right one. Just remind me tomorrow and I'll update you. Okay. Copy and paste, give you a few moments. Have you got that? Copy and paste. Got it all? And I'll do it tomorrow. Okay. Are there anybody there? So, yeah, I think we'll copy and paste it now. I'll knock it off and then catch you tomorrow. If it's not the right one, I'll send you one as a reminder. Okay. Thanks, guys.